Okay, part two. We're just going to continue where we left off. Sorry for the abrupt finish ending, but I hit my 15-minute mark. All right, so getters and setters, accessors and mutators, accessing information about an object or accessing information about an object or mutating, changing information about an object. So, and specifically the state. Some variable is being accessed or changed. Okay, so another method we want to talk about in the beginning bare bones setup of an object is a toString method. So the toString method allows us to print the object more easily. So you'll notice in our example, in our tester right here, I said system out print line X. I said print this rock X, and it knew to print the color and the weight, and it even added this LBS for the number of pounds. So that is not magic, it's our rock template. So if we go to our rock template and we go down to our toString method, we can see that indeed here's the color with a comma, here's the weight, and here's that LBS that gets added. The most confusing part about this toString method is that it does not print. What it does is it returns its toString. So it says take this object and give me a representation of it in a string format. So hence the string is being returned. So you'll notice this is concatenating variables and string values and returning that. So in our tester, this right here, this print line, this automatically calls toString. Now we can do something like this and I will get the same result. And sometimes I may want to just get a string value of it, but notice this output is the same as before. So even without this, when you go to print an object, Java goes and looks at that template and looks for a toString method. So it's really helpful to have, and whenever you create an object template, you want to think about what is the string representation of that object? What should it look like? Okay, so we have some methods, we have some behavior of the object. We have the toString, and these are this accessor mutator. Those are, usually you begin when you make your template, you make your variables, and you go and you write your getters and your setters and your constructor and your toString. And then after that, you can think about some other things you want to do. So in our example, if you'll recall, we have this break into method. So I'll bring you back to the tester. And so we saw that method being called here. It didn't get past any arguments, but it broke that Z rock in half. And we knew that because later when it added up all the weights, we had lost half. Well, now, since we wrote the rock template, we can go look at this break into method and see what it does. And indeed, it takes the weight and it divides it in half, and then it cracks it. Now, a couple of things we haven't mentioned yet, because I've just been talking about the behavior, the methods, and that kind of thing, is when we're working with static methods, unless we have some global variables with static methods, that's the methods we were doing before, remember we were getting into that tunnel vision of this method. Well, we still want to do that to some degree. So we still want to say, okay, when I'm in this constructor right here, all I have is this C and this W. But what we need to remember is that these private variables are really the thing that go with the life of the object. And those are the things we want to be accessing and changing. And so we will see those names in all of these methods as well. So one of the hardest things in object templates when we first start them is keeping track of these variables have a very long life. This color, this weight, X has a color and a weight, Y has a color and a weight, Z has a color and a weight. So it goes with the state. It is the state of those objects. These were arguments that were passed, like to the constructor, to the other methods. So here, is where those arguments get passed. The life of these variables, C and W, is very short. It's just for this method, and then C and W are wiped out. So it's very important that when we're accessing and changing, that we are storing values into these private variables, these permanent variables for our objects. And so keeping that in mind as we go through. Now, this break in two, so it takes weight, and you'll notice weight was not passed. It's indeed accessing the current object's weight, dividing it in half, and it's printing out the message crack, which we saw here when it cracked that Z-rock in half. So this is a trivial example, but it's simple enough to give you an idea of the getters, the setters, the constructor, the toString, and some other method. Okay, so again, I think I skipped over a little bit the fact that we don't allow in here, I could not call x.setColor and change the color. I could change the weight because I made a setter for weight, but I'm not allowing the user to set the color. So there may be certain reasons why you want to allow the user access or not. I just want to point out that that you can't just put anything here, right? So again, I could say x.set weight to 2. Maybe it had some water erosion, and so we should be able to see that weight go down, and indeed we did. And we can add some prints for X, Y, and Z and see that the state of that object is changing. So what's nice is these are complex variables. They're holding a lot of information, right? So it's kind of nice to have that information together. Now what I can't do again is that I can't try to set the color of the rock. Maybe I painted it. So why can't I set it, right? So if I compile this, it's going to say, oh, I don't have this symbol set color. I don't have this method. I could choose to go write a setter. We will often write getters and setters for all of our variables, but it just gives you an idea of when you're creating the template, you get to control who can access this data. And so we start getting into this data privacy, which is a big issue in the real world, is when do you want people to be able to access your data and when do you not? And this private allows us a little bit more control in who can access things and how they can access them. Okay, so just some extra terminology. So we talked about creating the object, initializing it. With the constructors, the actual term is called instantiating. So this is instantiating the object X, instantiating Y, instantiating the object, or we can say that X is an instance of rock. Y is an instance of rock. So that terminology comes up a lot, an instance of a class or instantiating an object. We already talked about the constructor, but just you know the syntax from Scanner. So now you realize that system.in for Scanner was passing some argument to some constructor. So we want to keep in mind that you can separate these statements. We've not separated them much, but we can. So the type of X is a rock, and then I can give it its initial value calling the constructor. So when I call new, it gets a memory address and it gets these values and it initializes the rock. So let's look at the constructor for a minute here. The job of the constructor is to initialize these. And so I don't know if you recall, but I used to, every once in a while I will have you separate the variable's type, making a variable with its initialization. And so this is one of the reasons we do that, rather than saying something like this. So in our static programs that we were writing before, this was okay, but in our object context, we want to let the constructor do the initializing. So we're going to declare the object here, and notice in the object, or in the constructor, I just use that variable. I'm not saying string color again. That would be a very bad mistake. What that would do is it would make another variable called color, just local for the constructor, that then goes away. And that would create, let me get rid of this set color that we don't have. But you'll notice none of my colors, my color no longer got set when I called the default constructor. So if I did that for both of these, none of my rocks would get their permanent colors attached to them. See that? Because it made a local variable, and rather than changing the permanent state of the object x, y, and z, I was just setting some local variable to some value, and then I left and it was gone. So we want to be changing these variables that have already been declared. So we just use them inside the methods. Okay, I think we talked about that. Okay, and just one more just reminder about this dot operator. So when we create objects and then we want to do something with them, so the behavior of the objects we want to call a method, you use that dot operator here. So x dot get weight, x dot set weight with the value that it needs to that we want to set. We have seen this before again with the scanner object saying input.next. And sometimes when you forget that on the methods we've made before, not now, but before, when you leave that word static off, it's looking for an object. So I can no longer in here, I can't just say set weight because it's not going to know whose weight to set. So it can't find symbol set weight, and that's because I've not attached it to that object. So this was okay to call a static method, but these are object methods now. These are, this describes the behavior in object. So I'd have to pass, so this is almost as if I'm passing the state of x and then saying set weight. So when I go to set the weight, not only do I bring this to, I also bring the current color and the current weight of x with it. So I have those values. When I call z break in two, I have z's color and z's weight. And so when I break it in two, I'm going to break z's weight in half, not x's, not y's. So that's why we have this dot operator for calling our objects. I think that's about it. You have some worksheets that just have you look at some of the, or revisit some of the vocabulary, and kind of fill in some getter setter of a tank class, I think it is. So we just want to get familiar with the new vocab and the new way of making variables. So an object, I like to think of it as a complex fancy variable. It's all we had before were ints and doubles and strings. Now I could put ints and doubles and strings together and make an object so that has ints and doubles and strings. So start with looking in the world around you at objects that you could turn into an object template, and think about what those objects have and what those objects do. And try to get familiar with the vocab, the constructor, getter, setter, instance. It's a lot of a vocab up front. So I will put the rock tester and the rock online so you can download that and just look at it more closely. And happy coding!